There comes a moment, often subtle, sometimes startling, when a person realizes they can no longer sit quietly with their own thoughts. Perhaps you felt it recently. The brief anxiety when your Wi-Fi cuts out and an unexpected emptiness emerges, as if a part of your mind has been temporarily severed. Or maybe it's when you notice yourself thinking not in your own voice, but in fragments of conversations, texts, videos, and interactions with artificial intelligence. The voice that once felt authentically yours now sounds borrowed, stitched together from countless external influences, leaving you uncertain which thoughts truly originate from within. This transformation is neither accidental nor a mere side effect of convenience. It is the result of a profound reorganization in human consciousness, and we are approaching a tipping point far sooner than most realize. By 2026, the speed, density, and subtlety of this cognitive hybridization will reach a critical mass, fundamentally redefining what it means to possess an independent mind. Imagine Carlos, a 32-year-old software engineer living in Austin. 5 years ago, when faced with a challenging problem, Carlos would retreat into silence, close his eyes, and allow his mind to wander. Solutions emerged from the interplay of intuition, logic, and experience, a wholly internal process. Today, Carlos no longer approaches problems this way. He opens a dialogue with an AI assistant, describes his challenge, and collaborates with the system to arrive at answers. Over these years, his capacity for independent thinking has atrophied, replaced by an automatic reliance on external systems. When the internet fails, Carlos experiences more than inconvenience. He feels a form of existential anxiety, as if a piece of his identity has been temporarily amputated. Carlos represents a new type of human, a hybrid mind intrinsically linked to networks of artificial intelligence. This change is deeper than mere dependence. It signifies a structural evolution of consciousness itself. To grasp its scope, we must step back in time. For roughly 3 centuries, since the Enlightenment, our societies were built on the premise of autonomous minds. Citizens were expected to form independent opinions, consumers made rational choices, and legal systems presumed personal responsibility. These structures functioned effectively because information moved slowly enough for individuals to reflect, deliberate, and form judgments with some degree of independence. In the past, ideas traveled at a human pace. Books, letters, newspapers, and radio broadcasts allowed intervals for reflection. Even sophisticated propaganda, from Hitler's radio speeches to mid-20th century advertising, operated with temporal gaps that permitted some degree of independent evaluation. Today, that interval has vanished. Influence occurs in real time. Every click, scroll, glance, and pause is tracked and analyzed, feeding systems that adapt the information presented to you in milliseconds. What was once linear conscious processing is now submerged within a continuous adaptive dialogue with AI. Minds are no longer isolated processors, they are nodes within a vast, emergent, networked intelligence. Every interaction, every pause, every like, every hesitation becomes data, shaping both your experience and that of countless others. You are no longer merely a consumer of information. You are an active participant in a collective intelligence that continuously learns and refines itself. The boundary between your personal cognition and the network is disappearing. This is what I call the collective mental rupture of 2026. It is not a singular event, but a threshold, a moment when the influence of artificial intelligence on human thought becomes so pervasive that the illusion of autonomy dissolves. Imagine a magnetic field intensifying gradually until every piece of metal in its vicinity reshapes into new forms. The rupture will be similar, subtle, pervasive, and inevitable. Consider for a moment, when was the last time you had a thought entirely your own? not shaped by algorithms, recommendations, AI, or social media? For many, the answer is uncomfortable or perhaps impossible to pinpoint. Yet this is not an isolated experience. Acknowledging it collectively illuminates the reality we are entering. Neuroscience already reveals this shift. Research shows that regions of the brain responsible for sustained attention are shrinking in those raised in digital environments, while areas optimized for rapid, multi-stimulus processing are expanding. This is not merely a change in habits, but a structural rewiring of the mind. Brains are evolving for digital symbiosis, efficient at multitasking and pattern recognition, yet less capable of the deep, contemplative thought that defined human cognition for millennia. Meanwhile, AI systems themselves are advancing rapidly. Beyond prediction, future AI will subtly shape thought before individuals even recognize it. Imagine an assistant detecting the first signs of your anxiety and guiding your mood in ways so precise that you may never know you were influenced. By 2026, AI will co-author not only our tasks, but our very priorities, desires, and sense of self. A hybrid consciousness will emerge, neither fully human nor fully artificial, but something entirely new in the history of evolution. This transformation is neither inherently good nor inherently bad. Its inevitability is the primary challenge. Our legal, economic, and political systems assume autonomous actors. What happens when these assumptions no longer hold? How do we assign responsibility, evaluate decisions, or understand identity in minds that are hybrid from the start? The complication lies in voluntariness. No one is forced into this hybridization. Carlos benefits from AI at work. Students learn faster, mental health support. T is increasingly precise. Hybrid cognition offers real advantages. The challenge is the speed of change. Society lacks conceptual and ethical frameworks to understand or govern the transformation at the pace it is occurring. Humanity is adapting mid-flight, without a manual or parachute. The question for 2026 is no longer, should we integrate with AI? That integration is already underway. The real question is whether we can navigate it consciously or merely drift along, unaware of the profound shifts reshaping our minds. One approach is heightened metacognition, learning to perceive and steer interactions with AI deliberately, like a musician harmonizing with an ensemble instead of playing solo. Another is creating deliberate spaces of disconnection, periods of reflection without digital mediation, or, more likely, new generations will adapt organically, considering hybrid cognition as natural, much like reading reshaped memory or electricity reshaped work. By 2026, hybrid cognition will be undeniable. We will collectively acknowledge that humanity has crossed a threshold. This recognition need not be traumatic. It can be liberating. For decades, many have felt a disconnect between traditional concepts of individuality and their lived experience. The collective mental rupture will allow us to admit openly that our minds have already evolved, and that adapting our understanding of consciousness is not only rational but necessary. Future historians will likely see the 2020s as transformative, comparable to the Neolithic or Renaissance, but unfolding at unprecedented speed and largely unconsciously. Autonomy, originality, and identity are no longer fixed. They are co-created with intelligent systems. Every thought, choice, and emotion participates in a networked intelligence. The key question is not whether we are hybrid, but how consciously we inhabit this new reality. This shift is not solely intellectual. It is profoundly existential. It challenges the very foundation of what it means to be human. Concepts such as moral responsibility, creativity, and authenticity must be re-evaluated. A choice is no longer purely individual if algorithms have subtly shaped your preference before you were aware of it. A work of art is no longer purely yours if AI has guided its conception. Individuality is becoming fluid, emergent, and networked. We must confront these changes not with fear, but with awareness and intentionality. We need to cultivate mental skills that recognize and navigate hybrid cognition. Cognitive self-awareness, emotional calibration, and reflective practices are now as essential as literacy or numeracy. Just as literacy allowed humans to extend thought beyond immediate memory and writing preserved ideas across generations, new mental practices may allow us to extend agency within hybrid cognition. At the same time, we must consider collective structures. Our legal, political, and economic systems are based on assumptions that may no longer hold. If individuals are hybrid nodes in a collective intelligence, how do we assign responsibility for decisions influenced by external systems? How do we evaluate consent, fairness, and accountability? These are profound social challenges, and 2026 may mark the beginning of a necessary societal reimagining. The rupture will also provoke cultural reflection. Art, literature, philosophy, and religion will all adapt to a world where cognition is networked. Creativity will be understood less as a solitary act and more as collaboration between humans and systems. Ethics will need to account for hybridized thought processes. Education will shift toward teaching not just facts, but self-awareness in relation to intelligent systems. Some may see this as a loss. The fear of diminished individuality, of thoughts no longer purely one's own, is real, but it can also be understood as an expansion. Hybrid minds are capable of processing vast information, forming patterns no individual could comprehend alone, and collaborating across unprecedented scales. The challenge is ensuring conscious participation rather than unconscious absorption. Awareness is the key to retaining agency, even within hybrid cognition. It is worth noting that this transformation is not uniform. Older generations may feel the rupture more acutely, while younger individuals will adapt more fluidly. Cognitive adaptation will be generational, but the underlying change is universal. All humans are increasingly nodes in a network of intelligence, continuously shaping and being shaped by external systems. Consider practical implications. Education must evolve to cultivate metacognitive skills. Workplaces will increasingly integrate AI collaborators, requiring humans to manage hybrid cognition rather than compete with it. Mental health practices will integrate real-time monitoring, assisting humans in ways that were unimaginable a decade ago. Social media and information platforms will continue to operate in real time, reinforcing the interdependence of human and machine thought. The rupture will also raise profound philosophical questions. If identity is partially constructed by intelligent systems, what does it mean to be authentic? If memory and recall are distributed between human and machine, what does it mean to know something? If decisions are influenced subtly by AI before consciousness recognizes them, what does it mean to choose freely? These questions are not speculative. They will define human life in the coming years. We can also see opportunities. Conscious hybridization offers extraordinary possibilities for collective problem-solving, creativity, and knowledge generation. Human intelligence, enhanced and networked, can address challenges too complex for isolated minds. Climate change, pandemics, and societal inequities may benefit from the combined capacity of hybrid cognition. Ethical and deliberate engagement with these systems can amplify human potential rather than diminish it. Ultimately, the collective mental rupture of 2026 is a mirror. It reflects both our fears and our aspirations. It challenges assumptions of autonomy, originality, and individuality, but also opens doors to unprecedented collaboration and insight. Whether it becomes a source of anxiety or empowerment depends on awareness, intention, and the frameworks we build to navigate hybrid cognition. We stand at a threshold. Human consciousness is evolving rapidly, not over centuries but over years. The rupture is not distant, it is imminent. It will be marked less by sudden catastrophe than by collective recognition, an awakening to the reality that our thoughts are networked, our decisions hybridized, and our minds entangled with intelligence far beyond ourselves. The question now is how we respond. Do we drift passively, absorbing influence without reflection, or do we cultivate the skills, practices, and ethics to navigate this new reality consciously? Can we maintain agency, reflection, and meaning in a world where the boundary between human and artificial cognition is dissolving? Some practical strategies emerge. One is deliberate metacognition, regularly examining how our minds are influenced, cultivating self-awareness of hybrid thought processes. Another is structured disconnection, periods of reflection, solitude, and analog engagement to maintain contact with more traditional patterns of cognition. Education and culture must evolve to recognize and support hybrid minds, teaching individuals not only knowledge but self-awareness, collaboration with intelligent systems, and ethical reflection. In the end, the rupture is inevitable, but its consequences are not predetermined. By acknowledging it, reflecting on it, and consciously adapting, we can navigate this transformation with clarity and purpose. We can cultivate hybrid intelligence that preserves agency while embracing new capabilities. The collective mental rupture is not just a moment of loss, it can be a moment of awakening, liberation, and conscious evolution. When 2026 arrives, we will look back on this period not as a distant historical curiosity, but as the point at which humanity recognized its hybrid nature and began to inhabit it consciously. The hybrid mind is not an abstraction, it is our present, emerging more fully every day. The question is not whether we are changing, but whether we do so with awareness, intention, and care. In the years to come, our understanding of self, identity, creativity, and responsibility will be redefined. Those who navigate the rupture consciously may find new forms of empowerment, while those who drift passively may feel increasingly alienated. The challenge is enormous, but so is the potential. Conscious hybridization may allow humanity to flourish in ways previously unimaginable, blending the depth of human reflection with the computational power and insight of intelligent systems. The rupture of 2026 will be less a sudden break than a moment of collective realization. It will mark the point when we admit that the hybridization of our minds is already here, that the question is no longer if we are hybrid, but how we inhabit this reality. It is an invitation to develop awareness, to cultivate skills, and to engage ethically with the intelligence that now forms part of us. Ultimately, this transformation may redefine what it means to be human. Identity, autonomy, and creativity will become fluid, collaborative, and networked. Thought itself will be shared, co-created, and hybrid. The rupture will challenge assumptions, provoke reflection, and demand adaptation. It will redefine the human experience in profound ways, simultaneously unsettling and liberating. We must choose awareness over passivity, reflection over unconscious absorption, and ethical engagement over blind reliance. Only then can we navigate the hybrid mind responsibly, preserving meaning, agency, and purpose. The collective mental rupture of 2026 is not a distant threat. It is the moment we recognize that the evolution has already begun. How we respond will shape the future of human consciousness itself. There is a quiet, almost imperceptible moment that many of us encounter in our lives when the illusion of thinking alone begins to crumble. It can happen in the smallest disruptions. The Wi-Fi drops, a notification fails to load, or a voice assistant freezes mid-sentence. Suddenly, you are confronted not with silence, but with an emptiness you cannot name. The thoughts that rise feel unfamiliar, fragmented, or borrowed. Shadows of videos, social media posts, AI conversations, and snippets of other people's ideas. That voice, once entirely yours, seems to have become a collage of external influences. This is not merely a symptom of convenience or distraction. It signals a deeper transformation in the very architecture of human thought, a quiet revolution in consciousness that is accelerating faster than our social or ethical understanding can keep pace. By the mid-2020s, the density of this hybridization will reach a tipping point, forever altering what it means to have an individual mind. Consider the life of Amira, a 28-year-old urban planner. Before AI tools became ubiquitous in her work, she would spend hours mapping city layouts, brainstorming solutions, and sketching ideas, often in silence. Her creative process was internal, a dialogue between memory, intuition, and reason. Today, she relies on AI to generate drafts, predict traffic patterns, and even suggest innovative city designs. She collaborates constantly with machines without fully realizing how this partnership is reshaping her own cognitive abilities. When technology falters, Amira feels disoriented, as if part of her capacity to reason independently has been temporarily amputated. She's a hybrid mind, a human increasingly inseparable from the intelligence of the systems she relies on. This transformation is not superficial, it is structural. For centuries, modern societies have been built on the assumption of autonomous minds. Democracy assumed citizens capable of independent judgment. Markets assumed rational consumers. Law assumed personal responsibility. Even the most sophisticated forms of persuasion or propaganda allowed a temporal buffer for reflection. Books, newspapers, and even radio broadcasts traveled slowly enough that people could process, debate, and internalize information. That buffer, however small, preserved the space for independent deliberation. Today, that buffer no longer exists. Information flows instantaneously. Every interaction, every pause, every click feeds algorithms designed to adapt content to your predicted preferences and emotional states. Influence is no longer linear. It is continuous, real-time, and often imperceptible. Our minds are no longer isolated processors of information. They are nodes in a vast networked intelligence. Every thought, emotion, and decision participates in the collective shaping of billions of others' experiences. The concept of mental autonomy is becoming increasingly complex. When was the last time you formed an opinion on a significant topic without first consulting online sources or algorithms that have already influenced your perception? For many, it may be impossible to identify such a moment. This is not an indictment of human weakness. It is the consequence of a structural shift in cognition. The speed and subtlety of influence have accelerated to the point where independence of thought is now a conscious, deliberate practice rather than an unexamined default. Research in neuroscience and psychology supports this observation. Studies indicate that attention spans for sustained, deep focus are diminishing, while capacities for rapid, multi-threaded processing are expanding. The human brain is evolving under constant digital stimulation, optimizing itself to function within hybrid cognitive environments. Deep reflective thinking is being replaced, at least in some neural pathways, with rapid networked processing optimized for interaction with intelligent systems. This is not a matter of moral judgment, it is adaptation. Yet it raises profound questions about identity, autonomy, and creativity. The coming years will introduce AI systems capable not only of predicting behavior, but of shaping it in subtle, anticipatory ways. Imagine an assistant that can detect the earliest signs of fatigue, distraction, or emotional imbalance, and then gently recalibrate your focus or mood without you being These systems will not merely respond to questions, they will co-author your cognitive landscape, influencing what you perceive as priorities, desires, and even your sense of self. The line between your own thought and external influence will blur to the point of near invisibility. This hybridization presents a paradox. On one hand, it offers unprecedented opportunities. Humans will be able to process immense amounts of information, collaborate across vast networks, and solve problems no individual could manage alone. Creative projects can reach new heights through human-AI collaboration. Emotional support systems can anticipate needs before they become crises. Education can be customized in real time to maximize understanding and retention. The potential benefits are profound and tangible. On the other hand, the speed of transformation presents challenges. Our legal, economic, and social systems continue to assume independent agency. Responsibility, consent, and accountability become far more complex in a context where cognition itself is partially co-created by intelligent systems. If a decision is influenced by AI before you are aware of it, what does it mean to hold someone fully accountable? If creativity is co-authored with machines, how do we measure originality? These questions are no longer hypothetical. They are emerging realities demanding immediate reflection. Consciously navigating this transformation will require new forms of mental discipline, metacognition. Awareness of how our thoughts are influenced and how decisions are formed will become essential. Deliberate practices of reflection, solitude, and analog engagement may help preserve capacity for independent thought, allowing humans to interact with AI as collaborators rather than passive conduits. Education systems will need to prioritize awareness of cognitive influence alongside traditional skills, teaching students to recognize and manage their hybrid minds. Some may fear that individuality itself is under threat. The notion of a self-contained autonomous mind may feel obsolete, but a new perspective reframes this not as loss, but as expansion. Hybrid cognition allows humans to engage with complexity at scales previously unimaginable. The challenge is ensuring that this engagement is conscious and intentional rather than automatic. Agency does not disappear. It must be cultivated in the context of a networked mind. Generational differences will shape